From Tycoon U Studios in Delray Beach, Florida, this is Options GPS with Chris Rowe and Ron Ianieri.
Well, welcome back to Options GPS. I'm Chris Rowe.
And I'm Ron Ianieri.
And the next thing that we're going to talk about here are time spreads. Now, time spreads are awesome because you're making money from time passing. And time tends to pass. You know, it's pretty much the only thing that we have that's guaranteed is time passing. So
and taxes.
Well, that too.
Death.
Yeah, well, we can't profit from any of those, can we?
I took out a life insurance policy on you.
Well, then you can profit from death. Why? We're going to talk about that a little bit later.
I'll be profiting from your death, though.
Yes. Which you can actually, that could be inside information, insider trading. You can manipulate that outcome.
Just wait till you walk outside to the parking lot.
Okay, well, first thing we're going to talk about is time spreads.
Okay.
Now, let's keep in mind that, all of us have, taken a position because we think a stock's going to move up or down. But then we're wrong because the stock moves sideways. And when you own a stock, the downside there is just frustration. Or maybe even the cost might be lost opportunity. It could have been something else that was moving higher. You're sitting there and the stock hasn't done anything. What if you use a stock replacement strategy? Then you buy a call because you think it's going to go higher or a put because you think it's going to go lower. But what happens if, the stock trades sideways? 80% of the time, the stocks are going to trade sideways. So what happens is you're long an option, and while you're long the option, your investment is losing value because time's passing, and you're suffering from time decay. So if you're losing money on options, now everyone's telling you don't trade options because they lose money over time. Well, if someone's losing money in that scenario, that means somebody on the other side of the trade's making money, right? So
somebody's got to be making it. Might as well be you.
Me or them?
You could lose more money, but them.
Okay. Well, when you profit from my passing, then you can use that money to bet on time passing.
Then I'll just buy myself a time spread. And the nice thing about a time spread is what we're really taking advantage of is theta. I mean, that's the key. Whenever we have a premium collection strategy, theta, one of your Greeks, is the key. You've got to make sure you understand your theta. And what do we know? Theta is highest in the front month at the money. And when we talk about, premium collection, we know also that it's the front month at the money option which decays the most and the most rapidly because theta is nonlinear. That means that as time goes by, options don't all decay at the same rate.
Right.
And we want to try to take advantage of one option decaying faster than another, and that is the time spread. And another beautiful thing about the time spread is that there's no directional bias in it.
Right.
So the stock fluctuating up and down a little bit doesn't matter.
Well, after this part of the course, after this DVD, now they're going to have another way of making money. The stock doesn't have to go up and the stock doesn't have to go down. Time passes. The stock stays in the same place. How many times have you predicted that a stock isn't going to do anything?
And just passed right by that chart because you didn't know how to capture that value of the stock actually trading sideways.
Right.
Now you do. And you know what? That's a really important thing. If you think about it, think about Japan in 1989. Their market crashed, and their economy, the market, everything went sideways for years and years.
Yeah.
I mean, the people who had money invested in that market, their portfolios didn't perform for a major chunk of the time that they really had for it to perform and when they needed it to perform.
That could be horrible for a guy like you because you, at that time, were like 85. So at that point, you knew that the stocks could middle until you never saw, a breakout or a breakdown. Thank goodness you knew about the time spread because you were able to make a lot of money when that happened.
Back when I was young.
Yes.
So I appreciate that, yes. But the thing is that when you go to a financial advisor, they always say that, hey, you're in your peak earning years, and if you could put away X amount of dollars for 20 years, and we get a certain return each year, the compounding and everything.
Like back in 98.
That's great, but here's the problem. Problem is what happens if right in the middle of those 20 years, you get a sideways market or sideways condition that, there's no increase in value. Think about how much you thought you were going to retire with. You might have to chop that in half and see if you can live off of that. but now we can actually do something about it.
Yeah, all that they have to do is basically pull up a stock chart of the S&P or the NASDAQ or anything and look over a few decades or a couple of decades, and you're going to find that the market tanks about 3 times faster than it gains. So, I mean, you saw the 2003 lows were reached from 2007 right down to 2008. Now, how long did it take to get there? From 2003 all the way up to 2007. So you saw, one of the fastest declines that you ever saw. But, I mean, the same thing happened from 2002 to 2003. The gains were wiped out in a matter of 3 years that were made in the second half of the roaring 90s. So, I think it's important to understand this strategy because when you look at the advance in the stock market, unlike the declines that pretty much go straight down or seem to go straight down or feel like they do, what happens is the market's advancing and then it basically consolidates for a while, advances again and then consolidates for a while. So a large part of that advance is actually a sideways movement. So, when you put in the time spreads, you can profit from those sideways movements.
Exactly right.
Why don't you show us how it works?
You got it. Up to this point, we've been talking about directional strategies. All the strategies we've talked about somehow, some way had a delta. Delta long, delta short. That means those strategies are going to benefit or get hurt by directional movements of the stock. But we have discussed or started to discuss some premium collection. We know that the covered call, the protective put, have deltas, one long, one short, but both collect premium. We know we can set up our time spread in a way to collect premium. But as of yet, we really haven't talked about a strategy that collects premium that doesn't really react to the movement of the underlying stock. It's not directionally based. It's delta neutral. And the first of these strategies that we're going to talk about, the delta neutral premium collection strategies, is the time spread. Now, on the floor, we call them time spreads. But when you start looking them up and read books, they're also called calendar spreads. And a time spread and a calendar spread are the same thing. It's just on the floor, we like shorter words. We weren't really as intelligent as most people. Anything with, 3 syllables became difficult. Time spread was easy for us. So whenever you're listening to me speak or listening to anybody else speak, if they're using calendar spread or time spread, they're talking about the same thing. Let's take a look at the construction. Well, we have obviously 2 types of time spreads. We have a long time spread, which would be a debit trade. This one is our premium collector. This is the one that is going to be a delta neutral premium collector. Now, how do we set that up? First, we have to buy an option that has a longer dated expiration, something in an out month, not the front month. We can't buy in the front month. We need the front month for something else. Then we need to short the option in the front month. But we're going to be in the same strike, different months. So we might buy the September 80 calls and sell the August 80 calls. We could also use puts, but the real key of the time spread is, and what you really need to know, is you're going to be short the front month option, long something further out, but in the same strike. And it's got to be, like always, in a 1-to-1 ratio. Now, there also is the other side of the coin. We could be long a time spread, and that would be a debit trade. We've got to pay to do that. The out month option will cost more than the closer month option, the near month option, at the same strike. So that's going to be a debit spread. We can also set up a short time spread, and there is a, let's just say, one single time, especially, that we might look at a short time spread. That will be a credit trade, but that has us buying the front month and selling an out month. That's what brings in the credit. We're buying the front month of the same strike as an out month option we sell. The front month will be less expensive than the out month. So our front month option, the one we're buying, will cost less than the one we're selling, which brings us in the credit. And as I said, here in the short time spread, we're selling the front month, buying the out month, same strike, 1-to-1 ratio. Now, what's the function here? 97% of the time, you as an individual investor will be buying the time spread. Let me say that again. 97% of the time, you're going to be buying the time spread. You're going to want to do the delta neutral premium collection style trade. So when we focus on the time spread, focus on being long the time spread, being the premium collector. As I said, there's only one situation where you might consider selling the time spread. We'll get to that. But right now, really focus on premium collection. Obviously, it's a premium collection position, the long time spread. And the nice thing is it's fully hedged. For every option we're short, we're long one. That gives us a limited potential gain and a limited potential loss. Most spreads that are done in a one-to-one fashion will give us both limited loss and limited gain. The time spread is no different. It's a fully hedged position, we have a real easy way of managing risk here. We can automatically figure out what's our total risk in the position and know that however much money we're spending is all we can lose by being long the time spread. So for an individual investor, you have the ability to control your risk and collect some premium in a stock that you, A, don't think will move, or B, aren't sure that it's going to move. Either way, if you don't know the direction, you shouldn't lean one way or another. Our other premium collection strategies up to this point have all been directionally biased. If you pick the wrong direction, you're going to lose all that premium that you work so hard to collect. So if we don't know where the stock is going, or we feel we're in a sideways movement, a consolidation, we want to use our time spread because it is delta neutral. Now, as I said, there is one little situation where we might consider selling a time spread, and that would be in the case of a situation where we wanted to act like a straddle. The short time spread will act like a long straddle. When can I see using this? For earnings. Lots of people like to play the earnings, and what do? They either buy a straddle or they buy a strangle. Sometimes that could get extremely expensive. And when it does, there is a little bit of an alternative. We might be able to sell a time spread instead of using a straddle, a long straddle, to play earnings. But that's a rare occasion. Most of the time, I think I said 97%, right? 97% of the time, you're going to be using the long time spread for premium collection. And that means, since we're split over months, this can also be used down the line to trade some type of skew in the normal volatility tilt of the stock. Profit and loss. Well, first off, you have to figure out a break even. And that's a little difficult in the time spread, because in the time spread, unlike our other strategies, we are now involving two separate months. And because we bring in two separate months, we really have not the clearest idea of exactly where in the stock price our spread will actually profit the most. It becomes difficult to figure out where that break even is. Why? Because with two different months involved, there is something that will fluctuate and be different between the two of them. Volatility. The stock price is the stock price. There can only be one stock price. So when we're looking at the time spread, I'm not so concerned about being split over 2 months in relation to the movement of the stock. That's no big deal. I'm also not really concerned about the passage of time. Although the time spread really requires the movement of time, I know that time only moves in one direction. The problem, and what makes it difficult to figure out where your break-even will be, where your maximum profit will be, where your maximum loss will be in a time spread, is that we've got two separate months. That means 2 months where volatility is not only different when we jump in, but the difference between the two volatilities can change. The market might decide front month is too low, and they can move that up without moving up the next month. They could decide that that next month is too low and move that up or down. They can move either one independently of the other. That's going to change your break even. Now, do understand, when we're long the time spread, we're a buyer of an option. When we're the buyer of the option, we know we can only lose the amount of money we spent. Remember when we talked about the vertical spread? And although you know me, I'm a huge fan of the Greeks. I mean, I'm crazy about the Greeks. I jam them down people's throats. However, when we were talking about the vertical spread, I backed off the Greeks. I said that in that case, the Greeks aren't quite as important because we've got a limited loss scenario and we know exactly how much we can lose no matter what happens. In this way, you've got to look at the time spread. The break even is not going to be all that important. Now, is there a spot where it's not going to make money for you? Yes. Will that spot potentially fluctuate with the movements or the disparity of movement between the 2 months that you're involved with? Yes. But I'm not so concerned, because if I buy the time spread like you'll do 97% of the time, I know what my loss is. It's fixed and limited. And I know where the general area of where I'm going to see the maximum loss. So I'm not so concerned with not being able to knock down an exact break even. I'm good enough with just understanding the area of where my break even is, where I'm going to make my maximum, where I'm going to lose my maximum. So the point of maximum profit, to be honest, can fluctuate. Most of the time, under normal situations, if you are long the time spread, you want the stock to close at expiration of the front month dead on the strike that you're short. That is what would be ideal in terms of maximum profit. The problem is, once that front month expires, you still have an option. That option can experience a decrease in vol, an increase in vol, a movement of the stock, and it's going to react to all those. So it's hard to figure out where exactly your position is going to make maximum profit. But by and large, we know that when we are long an option and short an option, the place where we have our maximum profit is normally the strike of the short option. Now you might say, well, wait a second, I'm also long an option at the same strike. Yes, that is true. However, your short option is in the front month of the expiring month. Your long option still has time. So when we're looking at the break even and the point of maximum profit, do understand that that exact point of maximum profit can fluctuate depending on the movement of volatility and the different changes between the 2 months. Both months do not have to have volatility move in a linear way. One could move big, the other might move a little. One could move a little, the other might move more. We don't know. So it really makes it difficult to know exactly where we have our maximum profit or our maximum loss. But we do know some generalities here. And what is that? When we're long the time spread as a premium collector, we make the most money with the stock at the strike. We lose the most money with the stock moving away from the strike in either direction, either further in the money or further out of the money. That is true whether we do a call time spread or a put time spread. We want the stock to stay at the strike. That's why when we're looking at a time spread, we want to make sure that we put that on only in the case of real consolidation. We need the stock to stay still. That is the key here with the time spread. That is where we have our most profit. So our break-evens really depends on the construction. The involvement of the 2 different months, that can alter the break-even, because whereas the stock can only trade at one price, time can only do one thing, and that is go buy, volatility can be different. See, when we're looking at something in a single month, the expiration dates are the same, and the volatility is going to move similarly. Problem is, we have 2 different months involved. We have 1 month expiring and another month left. Those 2 different months, the volatility can move differently. So that makes it a little more difficult to figure out what's going on in terms of our exact break even, the exact price that we want the options to finish at for maximum profit, and the exact price that we want the stock to finish at for minimum profit. So our point of maximum profit is normally for the long calendar spread, either put or call, normally directly at the short options price, stock finishing right at that strike at expiration. So take a look at which one you're doing. If we are right at the money, which is the time spread we should be doing, we want the stock to finish right there. The stock price finishing at expiration of the front month, right at the strike of our short option. That's what we want. Now, that's where we do the best. Where do we do the best if we have the other side of that trade? Well, obviously, where the long calendar spread does the best, that short calendar spread that we're talking about, it'll do the worst there. If we decided to put on a short calendar spread, normally done for earnings, we want the stock to move away from that strike in either direction as far as possible. And when you think about that, that performs kind of like a long straddle, which we'll get to in a little while. The short calendar spread needs movement. It wants to have the stock get away from the strike. Our long calendar spread, the premium collector, the one we're going to do 97% of the time, that one wants the stock to stay still. Right there at the money strike, not move, let time go by, let me collect my premium. Point of maximum loss is obviously the opposite of the point of maximum gain. With our long calendar spread, our maximum loss we will acquire where? As the stock moves away from that at the money strike in either direction. If the stock moves away from where our time spread is set up, either up or down, we're going to start seeing an area of maximum loss. Now, that means the opposite is true for our short calendar spread. If we're short the time spread and the stock moves away from the strike, we'll be benefiting. Nice thing here with our long calendar spread. Why am I not so concerned about not knowing where my area of maximum loss is? Because I know what the maximum loss is. I bought a spread here. If I buy a spread here, the most I can lose is what I spent. I can't lose more than I spent. That at least keeps my risk under control. I know I can't lose more than I spend, and I know I want the stock to stay right here at my strike that I have the spread in. Meanwhile, the short calendar spread doesn't come with that. We have a little more of an open-ended risk. This is why we don't do this trade that often. We do it under a situation, potentially, of earnings. And I talk about that more when I talk about trading the earnings gap. And you can find a little more about that on our website. Trading the earnings gap is a specific class that I teach to show you how this kind of functions. But the fact of the matter is that you need to know that we want to do our time spread at the money, and we want the stock to stay there. If the stock moves away in either direction, we will see maximum loss. Maximum loss, but limited to only the amount of money we spent buying the spread in our long time spread. When it moves right there and dies right at the strike, that's perfect for us. So our potential returns. Obviously, when we're long the time spread, it's kind of easy to figure out our potential return. We know how much money we spent on the spread, and we, at some point in time, at the end of it, know how much money we made. Calculating your return on investment for the long time spread is much easier than trying to calculate your return on investment from your short time spread. Because with the short time spread, we're not sure exactly how much money we're risking. Remember, we have that out month that we're naked short come expiration of the front month. We can't let that go. We've got to close that out. We don't know where volatility might have moved to at the time that we need to close the spread. Remember what we said about being short a naked option. If we're in the short time spread and we're long the front month and the front month expires, that leaves us naked short the out month. We're not allowed to do that. So the moment that my front month long option is expiring, I need to cover or adjust or do something to that short out month option. Because come Monday morning, after expiration of that front month, my position is going to be short a naked option, which is unacceptable. Now, problem here is that I don't know what the value of that out month option is going to be come expiration of the front month. Vol might have gone up. Vol might have gone down. I don't know. That's a little bit where the open-ended part is. That's why we can't take the risk of being short a calendar spread and leaving that naked out month option open after expiration of the front month. So that's where a little bit of uncertainty comes in. Now, let's talk about the Greeks of the long time spread. Well, first off, we're delta neutral, which is nice. Although we don't want the stock moving in any direction large, we can handle a little bit of direction up or down. No big deal. We're delta neutral. We're not going to get into too many problems with the stock staying in a reasonably tight range around the strike that we have the time spread on. What we don't want to see is big movements in either direction. Why? Because we're short gamma. Being short gamma means that we're going to actually be acquiring deltas, either long or short, depending on the direction of the stock. Our front month option is going to have a higher gamma than our out month option. Because where's gamma the biggest? Front month at the money. When we're long a time spread, which option do we want to sell? Front month at the money. That's going to give us a short gamma. As the stock starts to trade up, our short gamma is going to start acquiring us what? Short deltas. The farther the stock goes up, the more short deltas we acquire. The more short deltas we acquire as the stock is going up, the more money we lose. On the downside, as the stock trades down, our short gamma, as you recall from gamma class, acquires us long deltas. The further the stock goes down, the more long deltas our gamma is going to acquire us. The further it goes down, with us acquiring more and more delta, the more and more money we lose. The reason we don't want movement in either direction from our long time spread is because of the short gamma. Now, because we're short that front month option, we're not only getting short gamma, what else are we getting? Long theta. Remember, gamma and theta go hand in hand. Where gamma's the biggest, theta's the biggest. Where gamma's the smallest, theta's the smallest. But now that we have a long theta, it means that we're collecting money. As long as that stock stays still right around the strike, we're going to be collecting money. And that's what we want here, premium collection. Vega is going to be a little bit of a different story. You would figure normally where you're short gamma, you'd also be what? Short Vega. But there's a difference here. Vega is bigger in the out months. And since we're going to be long the out months, we're actually going to have an overall longer Vega position. Our front month at the money Vega, and we know that the at the money is the highest in any given month in terms of Vega, it's going to be the highest for the month. But Vega increases as we go out over time. Remember, volatility is a product of time. So where we are is we're actually going to be long Vega in this position. An increase and equal the increase in the volatility levels of both our front month and our out month, the one we own, is going to be beneficial to this position. Before, when we were only looking at a single option position in a single month, it was easy to see that our Vega and our Gamma would be similar because we're both in the same month. Now that they're split, I've got one option, the short one, that's in the front month where Gamma's the biggest, and another option that's long, same strike, but the Vega's bigger in the out month. So I'm going to be long Vega. I benefit from increases in volatility, and I get hurt from decreases in overall volatility. But do understand, they don't have to move both months' volatility up equally. Now, we know that the Greeks of the long time spread, especially gamma, show us why we don't want the stock to move when we're long the time spread. When we take a look at the Greeks of the short time spread, you're going to see why, if we do decide to sell a time spread, normally in the case of earnings, why we want the stock to move away from the strike. First off, like the long time spread, the short time spread does start off delta neutral. However, look at our gamma. In the short time spread, we're long gamma. Why are we long gamma? Because in the short time spread, we're going to be long the front month option. We're going to be long the option that has the biggest gamma on the board. Their out month option that we're short won't have a gamma as big as the front months. Being that we have a long gamma here, we want the stock to move in either direction away from where it is right now, the strike that we have our time spread on. So we're going to have a long gamma position here. We want the stock to move when we're short the time spread. Now, unfortunately, we have theta working against us. We are going to be short theta because that front month option, it's got all that gamma, long gamma we want, also brings with it short theta. The position will be decaying. We don't want to be in that position for a very long time because it's going to decay fast and hard against us. And in the case of earnings, we've got another potential problem: volatility. We are actually going to be overall short volatility in the position because our out month option, the one that's out there that we're long, that one is going to give us a short Vega. But in the case of earnings, quite often the market really jacks up the month that the earnings are in terms of volatility. It doesn't move the entire board. It just sits and says, hey, earnings are coming out this month, the announcement is made, and then it's done and over. They won't affect the out months. And in our front month option, which we're long, we are actually long Vega. So after the earnings announcement comes up, we know that that front month option is going to get smashed in terms of being a long Vega position in the front month. So you have to understand, when you're trading a short time spread, you're going to be doing it only in front of earnings, and you better not do it until you know what you're doing. Because people who try to play that big gap in earnings, when they're right, they make some money. When they're wrong, they get killed. And they do it by being in a straddle, a strangle, or even the short time spread. You've got to be very careful, because even though the short time spread is showing a short Vega, the fact of the matter is that's based on an out month option that's not probably going to be part of the event that's going on in the front month. And in the front month, you're long Vega. So you've got to be careful. Don't try trading these in front of earnings until you really understand what you're doing. You've got two different volatility levels. You've got them moving independently of each other. And even though your overall position of this short time spread on your reports on your brokerage platform show a short Vega, what you need to worry about is your Vega position of the front month, which is actually long. And if it's long and wrong, you're going to get hurt real bad. Synthetically, how does this whole time spread look? Well, right off the bat, the long call spread is equal to the long put spread. Why? Well, think about it. If we have a long call spread and it's long corresponding put spread, we're short in the same month in strike, and we're long in the same month and strike. What we simply have is a difference of time. If we have a difference of time, then it doesn't matter whether I'm long the put spread or long the call spread. The time between the two, as long as they're corresponding, is equal. And that means that we're going to see the same effect in being long a call spread as we are being long the corresponding put spread. The only difference is going to be in price. And we know that the call spread is going to trade higher than the corresponding put spread by interest and dividend, our cost of carry. Our short call spread then will be equal to our short put spread. All we have to do is whenever we're going to do either one of these, if we're going to do the long call spread, let's take a look at the long put spread first to see if we can't get a little better of a price. If we're going to do the short call spread, then let's take a look at the short put spread to see if we can get an advantage in price. Hey, if we can't, do the one you're comfortable with. So this means that we can price one spread by another. If we know the value of the call spread and we know the cost of carry, the difference between the cost of carry of the 2 months, we can sit and easily calculate where the put spread should be. Now this sounds a lot like something we talked about in vertical spreads. We talked about an arbitrage in the vertical spreads called a box, remember? Well, the time spread also has its own arbitrage. And we're going to be talking about that in a minute. But the fact that the long call calendar equals the long put calendar and the short call calendar equals the short put calendar means that we've got two ways of setting up the exact same position. And when we have two ways of setting up the exact same position, we can get long one, short the other, have two separate positions that are identical in their risk and reward, but could be trading at slightly different prices, thereby giving us an advantage in price, but also flexibility in terms of getting in and out of our positions. If I know I can do the same thing in one of two ways, and those two ways are equivalent across the board, then I'm going to choose probably getting in the cheaper one and getting out the more expensive one. And if these trades set up in a way that I can take advantage of a small discrepancy, I want it. I want to get into the cheaper one, and I want to get it out of the more expensive one. That might give me a little additional edge in my trade. And as you all know, every little bit helps, especially in the time spread, which is not a huge potential moneymaker. What is that arbitrage that's going to exist here that we're going to be talking about in a minute? It's called the jelly roll. Yes, I am serious. I said the jelly roll. No. I am really serious. It's called a jelly roll. I didn't name it, and I have no idea who did, but it's called the jelly roll. Let's take a look at the jelly roll. The jelly roll is going to be basically a combination of two different time spreads. We know that long the call time spread is the same as long the put time spread. So, whatever shuts down the long call spread, the short call spread, will also be able to shut down the long put spread. We know that a long put spread can be shut down by a short put spread. We're just buying something and selling it back out. However, if the long put call spread is the same as the long put spread, then anything that shuts down the long put spread will also shut down the long call spread. What do I mean? If we construct these positions, we're going to wind up constructing the arbitrage, the jelly roll. If I'm long the call spread, I could always sell the call spread. However, if I decide to be long the call spread and then sell the put spread to close, I have shut that position down into a jelly roll. If I'm short the call spread and I decide, hey, instead of buying the call spread back, the put spread's trading cheaper, I'm going to buy it back, it will close down the short call spread. Two positions that are identical will be shut down by the same thing. That's what you have to keep in mind. We've got two ways out of our long call spread. We've got two ways out of our long put spread. We've got two ways out of our short put spread. We've got two ways out of our long put spread. This is what is flexibility. This is what flexibility is about. The ability to do the same thing in multiple ways. Now we can actually focus in on any type of small price discrepancy and get a little advantage. So what kind of position do we create if we're long the call spread and short its corresponding put spread? What kind of position do we create if we're short the call spread and long the corresponding put spread? We create an arbitrage, a position with no position. And we know that if we're long the call spread, that's like being long the corresponding put spread. So if those two are equal, whatever shuts down one will shut down the other. Whatever shuts down this one is going to shut down that one. So we have multiple ways out of this trade, and of course that means that we have multiple ways into the trade. Always looking for the price advantage to optimize the strategy. We're not choosing a different strategy. If we think we found a consolidation and we want to do a time spread, we have the ability to go in whichever way we want. We can buy the call spread or we can buy the put spread. Which one? I don't know. If one's cheaper, then let's do that. If they're priced equally based upon the jelly roll, then do whichever one you want. But when it's time to get out, you know you've got two ways out. Take a look at the price of both. If one is priced effectively higher than the other, then by all means, get out with the one that's priced higher. Maybe it's only an additional 5 cents. Maybe it's only an additional 10 cents. But think about your commission rates. At a penny and a half a share, 5 cents, in a sense, gives you 3 free trades. That's right. If I'm only getting charged a penny and a half a share, $1.50 a contract, then if I can make 5 extra cents, although it seems minuscule, if I can make just 5 extra cents, 5 cents that I wouldn't have made otherwise, by choosing the right exit, that extra 5 cents comes out to $5 per contract. That covers my next 3 contracts, free, in a sense. So even though it sounds like pennies, and it is, it adds up because commission rates are down so much. Well, what do we use the jelly roll for? Obviously, the jelly roll helps us identify an equilibrium price between the call spread and the put spread, which allows us to identify which might be the better entry and which, when it's time, might be the better exit. It allows us better cost effectiveness. It allows us to get in cheaper and out more expensively. Remember, if we both enter the trade the same way, at the same time, we get the same price. If we both exit the trade at the same time, we might not necessarily get the same price. Because if I just blindly get out the way I got in without checking the alternative exit, which you might have, you might wind up getting a better price doing the exact same thing I did, but you took the alternative construction, the alternative exit, because you did your homework. There's never a rush, so much of a rush, for an investor to get a position on. You've got some time. It only takes a couple minutes. Do your homework and get that little extra, because eventually you know that somewhere at some time you're going to have a loss. If you have enough extra built up, you can pay off losses down the line without affecting the winning trades where you've made money. It's going to help you become more consistently profitable. And as an investor, that's all we're looking for. We're not looking for making millions overnight. It's not going to happen that way, so get over it. We're looking at being consistently successful. And if we can do that over a decent period of time, keeping our losses down, making sure we have a way to make our winners run, and making sure that we do the cost-effective thing each time, you're going to get to where you want to be quick enough. Not going to be overnight, though. So let's take a look at the secrets of the jelly roll. And what I want you to do, and I color-coded this the way I did, because remember when we were talking about the box and how we, instead of looking at each individual spread, we combine two components of each spread to create two synthetic stock positions, one long, one short, counteracting each other, and that's what we said the box was? The jelly roll works the same way. Take a look at what we have here. Up top, we've got a long call spread. Long the July 65 call, short the June 65 call. That's our time premium collector, right? That's the premium collecting time spread. Now, we know we could just sell this out. All we got to do is, boom, sell out that call spread. Buy back your June 65, sell out your July 65, no problem. However, we know that we can also get out not just selling the call spread, but we can get out by selling the put spread. You might say, well, wait a second, if I'm long the call spread, why would I sell the put spread? There might be an advantage in price. And if there is an advantage in price, you can take advantage of it. You could actually sell the corresponding put spread to get out of your long call spread. Why? Go back to the concept of the box. Don't look this way right now. Match up the colors. If we combine the two, then we're going to be short one June 65 call and long one June 65 put. If it's in a 1-to-1 ratio, long put, short call equals what? Back to our synthetics. Hurry up, page back in your notes. Quick. Short call, long put is short synthetic stock. We're short synthetic stock here in June. Let's look out here in July. You already know what it's going to add up to. I'd rather you know it not because you know this is short and this is going to have to be long. I'd rather you say, hey, you're long a call, short the put, corresponding options 1-to-1. That is long synthetic stock. And it is. We're long synthetic stock here. We're short stock here, long stock here, cancels each other out. This is an arbitrage. It's a position with no position. We're short synthetic stock and long synthetic stock simultaneously at the same price in the 65 strike. We're locked down. Now, we know that the value of the box was depending on the distance between the two strikes. We knew if we were looking at a $5 box, maximum value is $5, minimum value is 0. But this is not a box. This is not vertical. We're not in the same month here. We're cut across 2 different months. So what we really have to look at is one of the things we've talked about before when we talk about determining the value of this, and that's cost of carry. Think about what happens at expiration of June. We know that these options will expire, but these options add up to a synthetic stock position. Come expiration, when these expire, instead of a synthetic short stock position, we are going to acquire a real short stock position. If the stock is below 65, our call that we're short will be worthless, and the put that we're going to be long is going to have value. We're going to exercise that put, giving us short stock. If the stock is above 65, our long put would be worthless. The 65 call that we're short would have value. The owner will exercise, will be assigned, and will have to deliver stock to the owner of that call, creating a short stock position for us. No matter where the stock finishes, we're going to be short real stock after June expiration. Now, here's where the value comes in. Do we have now a position? June expires, we now have short stock. Are we in a position right now? No, we're still in the arbitrage. But we've gone from a jelly roll to a reversal. We're going to be short real stock now and long synthetic stock. We're going to be short stock, short put, long call. We're still in an arbitrage, but we're now in the reversal. And what benefits do we see from a reversal? Our real short stock position will be collecting us interest, might have to pay a dividend if it's a month in a dividend, but we should see a collection of interest. Our synthetic long stock position will not be charging or costing us interest. We'll be collecting interest. What's the difference between this position and this position? The cost of carry. What's the value of the jelly roll? The difference between the cost of carry in June and the cost of carry in July. If we have a 6-cent cost to carry in June, which you'll see on your sheets, and a 16-cent cost of carry in July, then the value of the jelly roll is the difference between the two, which would be 10 cents. 16 cents cost to carry minus 6 cents cost to carry gives me 10 cents. Why is that? Because right now, from June to July, until this month expires, I am receiving zero interest. However, when June expiration finally arrives, I will receive short interest from the short stock position that this June position gives me. That means between now and June, I won't make anything. Between now and June, there's 6 cents. I'm not going to see that 6 cents because I'm not short stock yet. But once June gets here, not only will June have lost 6 cents of interest, but so will July. And I'm going to collect whatever's left in July. From the moment that June expires, I'm going to collect whatever is left of July interest. That's why we take the difference. Because come the end of June, which right now has 6 cents to go, I will start collecting July's, which right now has 16 cents. But when June expires, it will have lost the 6 cents of interest. I wouldn't have collected it because as of yet, I'm not short stock until June expiration. But if June has 6 cents of interest to go, then I've got to subtract that from July because I only start collecting July's interest when June expires. If 6 cents is going to go by that I don't collect up till June expiration, then I'm not going to collect 6 cents of July's. If I take 6 cents off of July's, I wind up with 10 cents, the value of the jelly roll, because I get to carry my short stock from the end of June, or June expiration, to July. And how much is that going to be? 10 cents. Because as days go by, June's going to lose 6 cents of interest between now and expiration. July will too. Come June expiration, July will only have 10 cents left, and that's what I'll collect from my new short stock position. This is why the jelly roll works.